Welcome to the Cyber Chronicles. My name is Brian Stevenson, and I am your host. We scrub the internet for the most popular articles each week shared across the interverse, so you don't have to. This week we have 5 interesting articles. One about a Bluetooth chip that exposes some flaws in devices, how to use the internet anonymously through a SIM, through your phone, a breach in Pakistan's largest history, what some Canadians are doing. They're collecting information on their own citizens. Trudeau is defending it. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about an acquisition that IBM made that you're not going to believe. So stay tuned. Let's get started. Okay, our 5th most popular article of the week comes to us from our friends at the Hacker News. They always do a great job. Armis, a great company, a security firm, found 2 new flaws in blue chip devices that expose millions of devices to remote attacks. It's dubbed the bleeding bit, a set of 2 vulnerabilities that allow remote attackers to execute arbitrary control and take full control of a vulnerable device without authentication. This includes medical devices like insulin pumps, pacemakers, as well as a lot of different IoT sales devices or point-of-sale devices. Armis did a great job finding this thing. They did notify all the manufacturers that were affected by it. Most of them have developed patch updates, but it's it's firmware. It's operation technology. It's not like a PC where you can just hit a button and do an update. So Texas Instruments did a firmware update. Aruba's doing an update, as well as Cisco, which owns Maraca, did an update on their devices as well. So if you have some devices that are being used on this, you should look up the CVE. The CVE was 16986, so it's a vulnerability first identified there. From, again, the company name Armis. Tip of the hat to those guys for finding this thing. And we're going to move on to our fourth most popular article of the week. Okay, you knew it would happen at some point, but somebody developed a SIM, so now you can anonymously, that's an easy word for me to say in a Saturday morning, through a TOR-enabled SIM card, browse the internet in complete privacy. Today, as most people know, you can do that through a desktop or a laptop, but most people browse a lot of their access through their phones, which the SIM cards keep information on exactly what you're doing, your online browsing, and everything else. So there's been a TOR-enabled SIM card by Onion 3G. It's an article on hackread.com. Pick it up if you're interested in that anonymity to be able to browse the internet through your mobile device now through a TOR-enabled SIM card. Now available in the marketplace. Interesting that we've gotten this far. So we're going to move on to our 3rd most popular article of the week. Okay, our 3rd most popular shared article across the internet last week was a breach in a Pakistani bank. It's the biggest breach ever. The bank's called Bank Islama. Customers lose over $6 million. Considered the biggest cyber breach attack in the country's history. A group of hackers breached the data center to the bank, stole thousands of customers' information. First came to light on October 27th. When the bank started receiving automated messages about payment cards being used in different countries, and the bank declined some of those, thinking there was some data theft going on. And of course, they did the research and found out that they had been notified. The information's on the dark web already. They're selling it $60 to $70 per account. This is the username, passwords, all that good stuff to be able to transfer your information. So if anybody's listening on this podcast that banks at Bank Islama, you need to change your username and password immediately, because that information is out on the dark web and being sold to bad actors and everything else. So that was our 3rd most popular article of the week. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, the 2nd most popular article shared of the week comes to us from a website called nectarine.ca, Canada. So Canada, interesting, right? The Statistics Department of Canada is not backing down after it required banks provide information of personal transaction data of 500,000 people without their consent. Long history of government breaches. Canadians are rightly concerned. Why are they collecting this information without telling people? Trudeau ensured the information will be protected and only used for statistical reasons. What statistical reasons? They don't give you any statistical reasons, but they did share 500,000 people's information of the banks that they have in Canada, provided it to the Canadian government for apparently some sort of statistical research that they needed to have and make sure that they're going to secure it. That was the second most popular article of the week. Kind of shocking that you could even try to defend that sort of invasive privacy act, but Trudeau is attempting to do that. Interesting article. Pick it up. Take a look at it. It's going to be on our website below. Okay, but before we move on to our number one most exciting article of the week, we want to thank our sponsors. Focus Point, again, it always sponsors us. Fortinet, thank you. FireEye, thank you. And we'd like to do a special shout out this week to Komodo. So thank you very much for sponsorship of these shows. We couldn't do it without you. There is an expense involved in doing these things. Please watch our sponsors video coming up here and give them a call, for damn sake. We need to continue this podcast. All of our lives depend on it. So listen to the sponsor.
Focus Point Technologies is a woman-owned cybersecurity solutions provider. We are headquartered in Minnesota, and we have a unique approach. Our Security Technology Optimization Program, or STOP as we like to call it, takes a look at unused and overlapping functionality in the tool sets that you already own, with the goal of lessening the number of vendors in your environment and saving your organization money. Give us a call at 651-330-5521.
Okay, the number one most popular article shared across the internet last week. Lots of different sources that talked about this. I chose to use the Hacker News because they just provide such great content each week, and I want to support those guys in what they do. IBM bought Red Hat open source software for $34 billion. So quite a year for open source platforms. As you probably remember, Microsoft earlier this year bought GitHub for $7.5 billion, another open source business deal. And now IBM is going to be acquiring the Linux firm Red Hat for $190 per share. Works out to be about $34 billion. It's quite a purchase. Last year revenue of Red Hat was $2.4 billion, and the company's earned $2.9 billion this year. So it's open source. Updates are free. You might be wondering, how does the company earn its money? Well, it found a successful way to make money in open source software through consulting services, assessments, implementations, platform migrations, solution integrations, application development, hence trying to get the shit to work. So IBM bought it, Red Hat, open source, interesting move. It'll be interesting to see if they can absorb that and have it continue to grow as an open source tool now that it's owned by a company that's for profit and going forward. So that was our number one most popular article of the week. That does it this week for the Cyber Chronicles. As always, we really appreciate you listening to our podcast. Please subscribe below. Please call our sponsors and stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Take care.